I think we've made self respect bigger than it actually is. I think we imagined a bold, confident version of ourselves. I think we imagined someone that always knows what to say, someone that always know when to walk away, someone that always has boundaries. And self, most of self respect is not really about those big things. It's actually about those things that look ordinary. Self respect is eating in decisions that you can't notice. And I think that is why we're going to be talking about what self respect actually looks like in real life. Self respect is how you respond to what you already know. I've noticed that self respect doesn't actually start from gathering more information. Self respect doesn't usually begin from lack of information. Most of us already know. Most of us know when something feels off. We know when we've outgrown a situation. We know when we are pretending to be okay. We know we're not okay with something. So the question isn't whether we know, it's what do we do after we know. That's where self respect begins. It begins with what you do after you know. It looks like keeping small promises. Most times you think that self respect is actually in the big moments. It's actually not. Self respect is actually built in the small ones. You tell yourself you're going to wake up earlier, you don't. You tell yourself you're going to stop texting someone that keeps confusing you don't. You tell yourself that you're going to have a difficult conversation, you don't. You put it off again. And none of those decisions, each one of them individually seem life changing, but every one of them answers the questions that say, can I actually rely on myself? So self respect grows every time you're able to actually rely on yourself and your actions start matching your intentions. It looks like living when you already have stayed too long. Sometimes self respect it doesn't look like fighting other, it looks like accepting something that you've already seen. It could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be a friendship, it could be a habit. It's saying that you've been collecting evidence for months, you already know more than enough, even sometimes maybe years, and you're still waiting. One more question, one more day, one more sign, one more conversation. So eventually, self respect is going to ask you, like, you've had enough information. When are you going to make your move? So respecting yourself doesn't make leaving that situation easy. Respecting yourself means that you stop being dishonest with yourself. Because if you keep staying in that situation, you're only lying to yourself. And that doesn't show that you respect your own choices or your own peace or your own happiness. Do you understand? It looks like disappointing people sometimes. And this is like one of the hardest parts because many of us have spent years being dependable. We've spent time being available, being helpful, being easy to be around. Then one day we start saying no and we stop over explaining, stop fixing every situation. And people are like, oh, you've changed. And maybe they're right. Maybe you have. But the thing is, you've changed the version of you that abandoned yourself to keep up with everyone else comfortability is slowly disappearing. You're no longer that person anymore. And that's not selfish. That's you becoming honest to what you really want, to what you really need, to what makes you happy. Do you understand? It looks like trusting your own experience. One thing I've learned is that you don't need another opinion. Sometimes you've lived through that experience, you've lived through a situation, and you've noticed the pattern, you've seen the pattern, you've noticed the behavior, you've had that same feeling over and over again. And self respect is allowing you use your own experience as evidence. So your own experience living through that situation counts as evidence, not because you're always right about everything, but because you have actually lived through the situation. So your experience is definitely evidence. So self-respect is knowing that what you've experienced definitely counts. Self-respect looks quiet. The older I get, the less I think that self-respect is about what people say. I don't think self-respect is performative at all. I think it's something that you feel. It's a relief that comes from not having to pretend anymore, not negotiating, not having to explain yourself in a situation that you've outgrown. You're not able to explain your decisions about certain things. Self respect is actually that quiet relationship you have with yourself that says that I believe what I've seen. When I see something, when I notice a behavior, when I feel a certain way, I believe it. And I'm going to live like I believe this thing. And I'm going to, respond like I believe this thing that I've seen, this thing that I know, this thing that I've experienced. So it's usually quiet. It's not something that, is performative. It's not something that everyone else may be able to see, but you can see, it, you feel it, you believe in it. Maybe that's what self-respect really is. It's not about thinking that you're better than everyone else. It's not winning every argument. It's not always feeling confident. I think it's simply living in a way that agrees with what you believe, what you already know to be true. Because I believe that every time your life agrees with your deepest convictions, you become a little easier to believe. You become a little easier to trust. And over time, that relationship with yourself changes everything. It changes how you relate to yourself. Thank you very much for sitting here with me today. If this conversation resonates with you, please subscribe. See you next week. Bye.